Well, today is our normal meeting day, and a couple of our guys are off in a Bitcoin conference in Nashville, which we're a little jealous. And so we're Patrick and I decided to sit down and just chat instead. And we were just before we hit the record button, we were seeing maybe we had a little bit of FOMO. You were saying you may be a little jealous, and then I was about to
Little bit.
say, yeah, I was about to say, I go back and forth because our meetings are a lot more intimate. Like we can actually have conversations, get to know each other, and I think a lot of the bigger events it would be harder. You'd probably shake some hands, and then I don't know if I want to sit through a bunch of the sessions that they do or not. I mean, I think there'd be some value in it, but for the expense, I think that for me, I would just like to socialize more than anything. So I almost think we should just throw one big freebie up here even and be like, okay, if you want to camp, we've got camping. If you want to
Yeah,
stay in
no,
hotels,
that would be
and
awesome.
then we
That
just
would be
we
really
just like,
cool.
play games, drink a couple beers, just whatever
Hang
people
out with
want
a
to do. I
bunch
know
of
you don't drink,
Bitcoiners.
but yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
that would be a hoot.
I think so because I dislike, and I get that, these things have to be monetized even to cover expenses, but I think that a lot of these things end up as for-profit things where they are it kind of defies what Bitcoin stands for, which is, especially at this stage of the game when we're just trying to spread the love and trying to get the word out about it, and grow the network. So I struggle, but I still get FOMO. So I mean, the people they were talking to, I was like, damn it, I want to go talk to that guy and shake his hand.
Well,
But
you know, you need to be able to monetize it to a certain extent if you want it to
mhm,
be something that, continues on and grows and becomes a thing, right? Like the
yeah,
Reading Bitcoin Center. If the Reading Bitcoin Center isn't able to generate
right.
any revenue at all, then it's going to cease to exist at some point, right?
That's
So
a good point.
there's a balance, you know.
Hmm.
And the conference, I love going to conferences and hanging out with
Yeah,
people, talking with people. That's kind of the big thing for me.
yeah,
But it's kind of like going to Las Vegas, right? I really love it. After 2 or 3 days, I am ready to
burnt
go
out.
home and
Hmm.
I'm good for a while, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, for sure. Did you want to give a little background of your like professional story and what you do maybe for a living, and maybe your little Bitcoin journey? I know I've heard it, but for people
Bitcoin
that
journey,
haven't.
yeah, and not much of a journey, you know. So, and my love of conferences, my work, and Bitcoin story all kind of blend in together,
Yeah,
right? So
intermingle.
I'm in IT. I go to IT related conferences, and there's this one speaker, Charlie G, and I see him regularly, like every year at this conference that I go to down in Southern California. And 2016, 2017, 2018, and every year he does this water cooler talk where he just, hey, we're going to just pretend like we're standing around the water cooler and talk about current events and this and that and what's new in technology and stuff. And every year he was bringing up Bitcoin and blockchain, and it's like, hey, the price has gone from pennies to dollars. What do you guys think, kind of thing. And then the next year is like, hey, it's gone from $10 to $1,000. What do you guys, and it just kept going and going. And that kind of planted the seed in the back of
Yeah,
my mind, like I should look into this thing. But life, work, all of that sort of stuff, never really had the time and energy to devote to it,
right.
that it required to get over the initial hump and really start digging into it.
Yeah.
And then we moved up to Reading area, and I was looking for stuff to do, and went on a meetup and got connected with the Reading Bitcoin group, and uh, met Jed and all of you guys.
Hmm.
And so that's really where it kind of started. So it was kind of
Nice.
simmering in the background, and I figured, yeah, I'll go check out this Bitcoin thing and see what that's all about. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's been really good.
sweet. Yeah, I can kind of identify with traveling, not as much for conferences, but I did a lot of outside sales.
Uh-huh.
And so quite a few of the companies that I worked for did the trade show circuits. So
Mhm.
same thing with, Vegas and pretty much any of the major cities I would go to for a week or so, depending on if I was part of setting up the booth or not, or what the story was, because some of the companies I worked for had permanent booths in some of these showrooms. It was all wholesale stuff, but anyway, I'm with you on that one too, because you start off with all this exuberance the first few days, and I was, a bit of a party animal too, so we hooted up the first little while, and then, towards the end, you're hungover and you're like, I don't think I want to go out tonight with, because you'd be going out with clients and
Mhm.
other people you'd met during the show circuit and everything else. And Vegas was similar, but
Mhm.
yeah, so I wouldn't burn out on Vegas as much when I was younger. I'm gone in a year or so maybe, but I feel your pain with the whole Vegas thing. Yeah, that's cool. I'm super stoked about uh relationships within the Bitcoin community. And I'm super stoked that, for the group of people we have, you were talking about our center, the Reading Bitcoin Center and stuff. And I'm so excited to know all of you guys, and that, we can come. I mean, we meet every week, which sounds like more than a lot of the other Bitcoin meetups do, but it's pretty cool because uh, it feels like you're an island sometimes when, especially when stuff's going on like right now, which I think we should talk about for a bit too, which is the economic picture, maybe macro, even like the world. But we can go, hey, we're still good, right? This is still the best option out there when all shit hits the fan, which giant chunks are starting to actually make contact with the blades, I think, right now. But anyway, so it's awesome because you're just as important as Michael Saylor, and I'm just as important as the next guy, because it's one of the beauties about it. We're all the same. We're all in the same playing field, versus the current system where there's a hierarchy and there's a pyramid and there is a centralized head that gets to dictate everything. And then, we all end up as the peons. And in the Bitcoin network, the power is truly back with the people. And I love that. And I run a node and get to verify transactions and get to verify blocks. And I just
Mhm.
feel like that's one of the best parts about Bitcoin, and that it actually has rules. And something that's going crazy in the other system right now and socially is a total lack of rules and responsibility and accountability. And we're redefining facts. The word fact has been
It's
redefined. The
crazy.
word recession has been redefined. The word man and the word woman and the word, like, there's just so many words that like, we're trying to change facts. We can't do that. This is not going to end well. Like, there's principles. When you throw a brick up in the air, it's, you better watch out because it might come down and smash you in the head. So what are you thinking economically right now?
Well, it's more than just economically. It's
Agreed.
and this is what was kind of cool when I started digging into Bitcoin. I was coming in and I was thinking I was going to learn a whole lot about blockchain and altcoins and number go up and all of that sort of stuff. And where it's taken me is learning about the role of government in money, what is real money, the history of money, all of those sorts of things, which are very I mean, they're related, but it's certainly not where I expected to be.
Right.
Um, and then it really gave me a new set of glasses
Yep.
to look at the world with. And I get news stories now about some of the crazy stuff that's going on in China, right? China still has that zero COVID policy, if
Yeah.
I'm not mistaken, right? So like they lock people in their houses and like, no, you cannot leave. We're gonna put plywood over your windows and stuff. No, you can't have your money out of the bank. And then the truckers up in Canada,
Yeah.
right? How crazy is
Hmm.
that stuff, right?
Yeah.
We
Insane.
want to support these guys, right? So you give a little bit of money on the GoFundMe, and then all of a sudden your bank account is frozen.
Yeah.
so that's really the angle that I've been the tangent that I've been off on
Yep,
more than anything.
for sure.
Uh, yeah, so crazy stuff, and it's they're not going to. I retweeted something from Marty Bent, and I don't know if I'll be able to find
Uncle
it, but
Marty.
yeah, Uncle Marty,
Hmm.
and basically it's like, government and big corporations are not going to give up the power that they have.
Right.
It's a 0% chance of that
Yes.
happening.
Yeah, their number
So
one job is to legitimize themselves. It's not in the best interest of the people. And in actuality, when you dig deep enough and find the actual facts, government really works for money, and money really controls the world. And the centralized parts of that really are our central bank here in the United States, which is probably the most powerful entity in the world, despite what you hear the media tell you. And unfortunately, our system has been corrupted by that, and that greed and that centralized power and lust for power and control. And it's trending us more towards feudalism, where we're actually victims. We're not free. Like, people say, oh, I was born here and this is great, and that's all true. However, where could we be as a world, not just the United States, but where could we be as humanity if this power structure, which doesn't have the best interest of humanity at heart, it really has the things I just mentioned, the control and the greed and the lust for power, and all of that is primarily what is motivating it. And what if instead we had a system which capitalism probably could work well on the rails of a sound money like Bitcoin, where there are, facts and truth and accountability and responsibility and things like this built in, and the incentives were such a way that it wanted humanity, the best for humanity as the central goal, instead of, I want to make money and I don't care whose face I step on, whose hands I step on. And so it's really just led us to a place where this cannot last forever. And we're at a critical point in history where if people don't rise up and say no, we're going to end up as serfdom. We're going to end up as slaves. We're going to end up as just basically being owned by, that higher power that I described, the centralized banking system ultimately. So,
well, it seems like in America we're mostly frogs in the water, right? And they've been turning the heat up slowly for a really long
right.
time. Um, I think they turned the heat up a little bit too much
Yep.
over the last couple of years,
Yep.
and people are starting to wake up. But I just don't know that it's enough to get people out of their tunnel vision,
Yeah.
my life. Wake up, go to work, come home, cook, all of the stuff that folks are taking care of. What you'll notice is that the adoption of Bitcoin is picking up the most quickly in the countries that are affected by the United States, but don't have the same protection and
Right.
isolation that we have, right? So
For sure.
we're a bit removed from the effects at the moment, But look at Central America and Africa and Asia, and it's becoming because they see the light.
Right.
They have seen what happened. When you have hyperinflation, right?
Yep.
It's like, oh, I've got cash. I better spend this because tomorrow it's not going to be worth anything.
Yeah. Yeah. That's crazy. I see a lot of even economists and people that are paying attention to what's going on with the current financial system, and they're able to, you know, say, oh shit, we're heading for hard times, but they have no solutions, or their solutions lie in a political party, or they lie in something we've tried, or, oh, the Federal Reserve needs to save us, or blah, 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 blah. But they don't realize that we really need, or, the central bank digital currencies, which are scarier than ever. They don't
Ooh.
realize we need to probably try a different system, one that has truth, one that has rules that everybody can uphold, because there's no way for a middleman or a centralized party to dictate all of this stuff. And we can.
they're gonna try.
Oh, you bet your
They're
ass they're
definitely
gonna
gonna
try.
try, right?
But
But
yeah, oh, for sure. Yeah,
and
no, we're gonna get attacked, and it might get ugly. That's why I hope there's places, if things get as insane as they did in Canada and do that over a prolonged period, because like you said, uh, the analogy of the frogs being slowly boiled, you're absolutely correct. Like they're delusional enough to think that they don't know what the US dollar is. They don't realize it's not even ours. It's not, the Federal Reserve is not federal. There's no elected officials there. Just because the president gets to draw a name out of a hat out of all the guys that they've already designated, like, oh, we'd take Joe or Jim or Harry or Jerry or Uncle Jerome in this case. He gets to choose that name. That's not, and Trump's the one who picked that name, and Biden's the only decision he ever, he picked the same guy again. It's like, oh really, you guys, if you talk politics, that shouldn't be, but so they don't have a reserve either. There's no gold. The Federal Reserve readily admits it owns no gold, so that's just insane. So the answer is not trying going around the mountain again. Go ahead.
Right, it's been that way for a long time, right? It's been that
Mhm.
way
Yep.
for most of everyone's life at
Mhm.
this point. And so folks don't, like grandparents and great grandparents, if you could remember back that far, I
Yep.
mean, a dollar was a dollar, and it was going to be a dollar tomorrow, right?
Yep.
I remember, my mom was always, oh my gosh, things are so expensive. And I'm like, and I remember thinking, well, it's $10 for a t-shirt, Mom. That's not too bad. But, now it's years down the road, and I'm thinking $20 for a t-shirt,
Mhm.
WTF, right? But it's just the way it is. We're just accustomed to, oh well, yeah, prices go up. Never really thinking about why are things so much more expensive, right? We have more technology, better transportation, all of automation, and all of the things that are supposed to be making things cheaper and less expensive, easier to produce, and yet the prices are going up. It's
Right.
something's not right here, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That goes to the Cantillon effect or the Cantillon effect, however it's pronounced, where those closest to the printer benefit from it. And that goes to what you were saying earlier about the countries that are higher on the percentage of adoption of Bitcoin rate, which is the farther away from that you are, the more motivated that you are to reach out. I mean, what do you have to lose anyway? I mean, you're getting screwed every time that printer is humming because you're not part of the, make it rain crowd. And so you're just getting devalued. So if you're trying to exchange for flour and oil and goods and services or whatever you're buying with US dollars and you've got X amount, the purchasing power on those diminishes greatly. And that goes back to what you said when grandpa would tell stories about, buying a 10-cent Coke and a 25-cent burger. The reason that that's happening is because the money supply is just getting out of hand. It's getting insane. And it sounds like the current debt spiral we're in, the only way we can get out of it is to print more money. The only way that they, being the central bank and the government powers that be, because they're in collusion with one another, will choose to get out of it, because all they want to do is try like hell to kick the can down the road, try like hell to postpone this problem, which is going to be an inevitable unraveling of this whole fiscal system. And the number one way that they can do that is to just hit print. Unfortunately, that next print is going to be massive, so we're going to devalue tons of other countries even more. And I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, you hear like macro on a big picture, like Germany, Japan, there's countries that are right on the doorstep of bust. And we
Yeah,
we
they're
have
working
to
on it.
step in, we're gonna have to step in. And the only way we can step in is to hit the print button again, So I mean, there's so many bubbles that are close to popping right now. Something's gonna break.
Well, they're between a rock and a hard place,
Right.
right? Because you have the inflation going on. They need to raise interest rates and cool things off, which is going to destroy
Yep.
an
Right.
economy that's already in recession,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so then it's going to kill everything, and everything's
Right.
going to tank, and then they're going to turn the printers back on, and
Mm-hmm.
it's just those cycles again and again. But, thank goodness that we have the WEF, because they're going to come out with a global currency that
Save
will
our ass.
solve all of these problems,
Oh
right?
man.
That's
Yeah, and
that's
the IMF, man, we've got banks out there that are gonna save our ass. Yeah. Woohoo. And CBDCs.
woohoo.
Hey,
Yeah.
we're good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's scary stuff, man.
No,
Scary stuff.
it really is. And I mean, that's one of the things that I like about the intelligent Bitcoin community, the early adopters, is they've been saying this for years, and it's playing out like a train wreck in slow motion where it's like, okay, so the Federal Reserve can do this or they can do this. And basically, like you said, it's like, okay, if we hit print, we're going to create inflation like crazy. And then, oh no, they don't really, they have four things or two things they can really do, even though a lot of the time it's made to appear or made, that they have this whole arsenal of tools. Like right now, I think that them speaking is probably their greatest weapon, but in actuality, they can print and they can dick with rates. And it's like, so they've screwed with rates. So they're keeping these zombie companies alive by giving basically access to zero money. These companies would be insolvent. They've been basically the only ones buying certain things like treasuries. They've been buying all sorts of crap that nobody else would buy because they're smart, because it's a road to nowhere. But it's the whole scenario of the snake eating its tail. This is like, hey guys, this can't last forever like this. This is not like, accounting is accounting for a reason, because you need to be accountable, because you can't operate a business like this. And listen to guys like Foss, they say, hey, the US government is insolvent, like we're effed, like we can't it's insane. Anyway, like taxes aren't even what I forgot what the number that was brought in with taxes, but when markets tank, you're not going to get all the tax revenue you were, even because you're not going to get all these capital gains taxes, and you're not going to get all these other things, and we're not going to even be able to pay our 30 whatever $1 trillion debt down. We're not
Well,
going to pay the interest on it. And go
that's
ahead.
where the modern monetary theory comes in,
Right.
right? All of that is irrelevant, because you can just print all the money you want. Everything will be good.
Right. Yeah. But it's all coming to head, I think. And it's all, this cannot last. And my theory is, countries like Russia and, them, even the invasion of into Ukraine, it never made sense to me. But I'm almost thinking it's more of a macro political slash uh, attack at the U.S. more than anything play, where they're realizing that the U.S. has had that dominant squeeze on that chokehold on the whole world reserve currency, and they're going, hey, this isn't cool. Like we need to do something about. I'm not saying I agree with it. I think war itself is just insane. I think war is literally stupid. Um, yeah, I get it. We need to defend our borders and everything else, but that's different than going in and attacking a country for no reason, or uh, uh, going to war for, and telling your people propaganda, which all countries seem to be responsible for. And I mean, the US does the same thing. I mean, the last few wars that the US has been in have never made sense to me. It's like, oh, well, it's about this, it's about that. Oh, it's about the people. And it's like, it's not about humanitarian causes, or you would have been in poor countries that were slaughtering each other and trying to go in there and be a peacemaker. So don't give me that bullshit that you're the sheriff of the world trying to go do good and do this all with humanitarian aid as your big calling, because that's a bunch of bullshit. It's about oil, it's about power, it's about money, it's about greed. It's not about humanity whatsoever.
Are you saying that there may have been selfish motives behind the actions of these kids?
Yeah, it's ludicrous. So maybe we can speculate a little bit on I don't know, what is it, September, October, November, December, like this year. I mean, you hear about, J- uh crazy stuff going on in Japan. their central bank buying, I don't know, I heard different figures, but a substantial amount of their market, and them even pegging rates and, buying their own whatever, basically funding their own government, blah de blah. You got Europe with their heating issues. We've got our own issues here in the United States. We've got a whole laundry list of countries whose currencies are just tanking. We've got all sorts of macro issues, like on a global scale, that really two or three of them could just be a world of disaster. What are your thoughts like going on the rest of the year? Is something going to break? What's going to happen?
Yeah, something's definitely going to break, but you're talking about all these list of issues and problems and wars and all of that sort of stuff. And really, you can bring it all right back to money, right?
Yep.
That's how they pay for all of these things, is by
For
printing
sure.
money and
Yep.
inflating things and debasing all of that sort of stuff. And it's been throughout history, right? The king needs to go to war with, France, and so
Right.
it's the same garbage again and again,
Yeah, for
right?
sure. I think I mean, ultimately that's probably why Russia invaded Ukraine, because they're just so resource rich, and that's probably the number one reason. But the
Yeah, Putin's looking to get back to the glory days,
yeah, for sure.
no
Yeah,
doubt.
the territorial thing and an ego thing yeah. But anyway, I digress. I interrupted you. Did you want to go ahead and finish your thought there?
Well, yeah. So they've been farting around with the whole modern monetary theory thing,
Yeah,
print all the money you want, and people are on the verge. And I don't think it's going to take a whole lot to push things over the edge.
right.
Um, I don't have a crystal ball, obviously,
Yeah,
but it sure feels like things it feels like things are a little different this time.
it does, doesn't it?
We've been through a few recessions, and oh, okay, it's a recession, things are going to get
Yeah,
tight,
yeah,
not spend quite so much money carelessly and whatnot. And I don't know if
yeah,
it's maybe because I have more information coming into me, or because I've been researching these things, or if it really is incredibly different this time, and we really are on the verge. But I don't think
yeah,
it's going to take a whole lot to. It's going to be a bunch of dominoes that start to fall.
yeah. I was thinking 14 different things while you were talking, but one, you said Verge, which reminded me it's Merge Day.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. I was
So
thinking of
Ethereum
other,
is now fiat. Got it. Yep.
yeah, other stuff going on, which was mortgage rates popped over 6% today. I think they may have even touched like 6.25 for mortgages.
They're meeting next week, aren't they? They're
Oh yeah, they're gonna
gonna be
definitely
raising rates
pop
another.
those rates, which are which inevitably roll out to the mortgage industry. So we may have a housing bubble. Who knows? It depends on, because I mean, we haven't seen giant increases in a lot of salaries or anything. We keep hearing about all the jobs that are out there, but I think that those jobs aren't like $100,000 a year jobs. I think those are burger flipping jobs and server jobs and those type of things, which there's probably a plethora of, because people are like, no, I'm tired of being your slave. Get someone else to do it, because I can't even, it would take two of us to earn that kind of income to just pay the bills, let alone try to raise a family and take a vacation. So I think people are getting sick and tired of the system the way it is. I think a lot of the well, not the PPP money, because it's a whole other ball of wax, but a lot of the stimulus money that was going out is definitely dried up. And I think people are starting to realize, oh shit, what's coming down the pipeline.
Yeah, folks are feeling it. I'm lucky to be at the stage of life where I'm at,
Yeah.
where I don't feel it quite so much. If this
Hmm.
would have been 15, 20 years ago, I'd be in that same boat, like really starting to get a little bit worried.
Right. Yeah, there's I think a lot of people do live paycheck to paycheck. I don't know what percentage of America does it, but I wouldn't be surprised if it is 30 to 40% of people that are in that category. I'm just guessing, but It's
And most folks don't have any savings at all,
right, right,
right?
right, right.
In fact, negative savings because they're running
Hmm.
up on credit cards, right? And it
Yeah.
again, this whole time, the idea of time preference and the shift in time preference from my grandparents' time
Hmm.
to now, it's all related,
For
right?
sure. Yeah. Oh no, absolutely. Yep. And with the inflation that we've seen, I was looking at the numbers, and it's quite startling because oftentimes last month it was like, oh hey, guess what guys, we actually didn't increase, the inflation didn't increase, and it was like, well yeah, month over month, you're wording it in a way to really try to make it not seem as critical as it is,
It
but
only
with
increased 10% this month, which is
right,
the same as last month.
yeah.
That's
But
sort of a
when you
thing.
have folks in the situations like we just described, it's it's kind of code red, so I don't know what the plan is going to be when people start starving, or not being able to make their mortgage payment or their rent payment. But traditionally what we've seen is we'll print money and throw it at them,
Well,
uh
absolutely. There'll be
which
the basic income
yeah, yep,
money. I don't remember what they call that.
yeah, yeah, oh yeah, 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 right, right. Well, that's basically what's been done, because you're basically just getting money for nothing. But this is all, like you said, this is dated back a long ways. And when I was really paying attention, when I pulled my head out of my ass from, the wild sowing my wild oats as a youth, and started really paying attention, this shit's been going on for a long time. I mean, you can look at the TARP from the '08 years, where that was billions of dollars that they were printing and giving away. Um, if the people that were paying attention, and what we don't hear now, haven't really heard anyone say is, and I've pointed it out, I even posted it on social media, I went and looked back, uh, before COVID, there's a number one indicator or flag. It's not um, there's not like a playbook for this, but the number one indicator of an upcoming recession is a yield curve inversion. We
Yeah.
had a yield curve inversion before COVID, several months before COVID. We had a yield curve inversion. And what COVID did was it created an excuse for the printer to just go on parabolic and just go
Hyper.
nutso, and it kicked the can down the road farther. But
Mhm.
each time we take these crazy print debt spiral loops around Mount Insanity, it gets crazier and crazier and crazier. So the print gets bigger, and the time span in between these events gets smaller. So I don't think we have 10 more years till we got to hit that print button again, because there's going to be ginormous
Oh,
chunks of shit
it's
hitting the
certainly
fan,
not going to be 10 years, right? And
Yeah.
like you said, we keep kicking the can down the road. The piper's
Yep.
never been paid,
Right.
right?
Yep.
And the bill is going to come due at some point, and you
Yep.
just keep adding to that pile. When it
Right.
finally bursts, it's going to get worse and worse if you
Yep.
don't deal with it.
Well, I really hope that, I mean, I'm glad all the countries in the world are not just on friendly terms, because we, as first world countries, are getting so insane, we might end up becoming the actual bad guys, where we're more, even though we don't want to use the word communist, we're more communist and totalitarian in these countries, because we want to dictate and control every aspect of the inhabitants' lives, and down to their value, their wealth, their money, with these CBDCs. I hope there's places to bug out to that actually are Bitcoin friendly, and rights and responsibility of people, and respect private property, and respect individuals' property and individuals' rights. And to me, that is where you have freedom, it's a more loving, happy environment too. And the way we're trending as America, it's towards the other way, towards the totalitarian, insane society that I want no part of, and I don't want my children as a part of that, because that's crazy. That would be a miserable life.
Well, I don't think there'll be a lack of people who sign up for that though.
Oh, for sure.
Hey, I
100%.
will gladly give away all of, I'll give you all control for security,
Yep.
and Bitcoin is a great example of it, right?
Yep.
You want to self custody and be sovereign yourself.
Hmm.
You gotta put in the work, right? You have
Yep.
to understand how it works. You have to take care of doing so. It's not easy. It's not, there's work that you have to do in order to have that freedom. And some folks just, I don't know that some folks will just ever
Yeah.
be
Well,
willing to do that.
you're talking about it's universal basic income is the word you were looking
Right.
for. And people are happy to get on that gravy train, but unfortunately that won't last forever because you need to produce in order to succeed. People have to work and produce like food and produce clothing and housing and cars and everything we need in society to survive. So what I see going on in America now is it polarizing more and polarizing not just politically and ideologically, but people are actually moving, physically moving to places where there's like-minded people
Mhm.
like them, which I don't know if it scares me or if it's a good thing or what, but if you end up in a world where you have these people who think, yeah, we can just print money and hand it to people and they don't need to go produce anything, they don't need to work, they don't need to, guess what, guys? Your part of society will fail because who's going to feed you? Who's going to clothe you? Who's going to keep you warm? Who's going to fix your roof? Who's going to do all this stuff? It's impossible. It's not going to happen. So I hope it doesn't come to that, but the stupidity in this country is just mind-boggling, and around the world.
Staggering,
Like
isn't it?
it's like Canada. Canada is a great example. I was raised there, but it blows my mind that they reelected that fool because he's another one of these like, oh yeah, we can just his solutions are idiotic and they sound great. It's like, oh yeah, you can just get paid to sit on your ass in front of your TV and watch television, but guess what? If we rolled the clock back to caveman days, if you couldn't just sit in your cave and draw cave pictures all day, or you would, you'd freeze to death and you'd starve to death, and or an animal would get you. You have to, and these
Right.
rules still apply today, guys. Hello, like the rules don't go away just because it's 2022. We still need, as humans, to produce. We need to give back something of value to fellow humanity in order to survive, in order to thrive. And
And
that's not happening.
well, I think one of the other things that we're seeing at the moment with social media and the news in general is that there is a large number of people who are going to work and taking care of their business and doing all those sorts of things and just want to be left alone.
Yep.
And you don't hear that because they're
Yeah.
busy going to work and taking
Right.
care of their life and want to be left alone, right?
Yes.
So I don't think it's nearly as lopsided as you might get the impression.
Yeah.
It's with a lot of the stuff,
That's a great point.
the percentage of people with that are gender dysphoria
Hmm.
it is very small
It's
compared
minuscule.
to the
Yeah.
noise that's coming from that
Right.
side
Yeah.
of the news.
Yeah, that's a good point, Patrick. I think it's maybe a squeaky wheel scenario where,
Yeah.
the whole car is running fine, but it sounds like shit because you have a rock and a bearing on the front left wheel. And that's actually a very good point. Even in the area we live up here, I mean, I know hundreds of gun-toting people that would be at your beck and call if shit hit the fan to defend, this chunk of space up here. But if you go to certain other areas where it's a lot different, I think they'd be more apt to just sit back and roll over and just take it like a champion, like go ahead and yeah, oh yeah, I want the UBI, I want, yeah, let's cool. Oh, let's do that. And let's, and not worry about the facts and not fight for morality and what's right and freedom and love and hope and peace and all the wonderful things in life. But they'd just, hey, I want to pick the easy route and go for it. And I think that's, another example of maybe the whole polarizing of America where, like-minded people are physically moving to areas where there are more like-minded folks. And I think thankfully although we're in California or whatever it's called, we're in an area of it that is actually very conservative. There's a lot of people here that, like I say, you can shake their hand and they'll shoot you straight. You can, believe them, trust them, and they'd have your back if shit hits the fan. And, like whatever the worst case scenarios would be, they would group together and, fight for one another, protect one another, feed one another, help each other. Yeah, take care of each other. So that is a positive about where we live physically. But with a government gone berserk, with a government where they're gonna start having more and more control due to technology, due to being able to listen in on your conversations through your phone and look at you through social media and all these other ways that they're eavesdropping on you, and freeze your bank account. I mean, that's just really a huge red flag. So I mean, like I said before, I don't want to live in a society like that, and I don't want my offspring to have to deal with that insanity, because that's only going to trend.
There aren't
worse.
Too many people who do, right? People don't want that sort of a thing, right?
Yeah.
If you look at some of these cities like San Francisco, right, they put up with a lot. They lean to the left. Okay, that I got no problem with that. But then they put in their district attorney who stopped prosecuting people, and all of a sudden Walgreens and Starbucks are closing up business because it's just freaking dangerous, right? So they recalled the district attorney.
Yeah.
Right. They're recalling school board.
Yeah, that's good.
And that sort of thing. Right. Again, I think it's a bunch of frogs in the water, and all of a sudden they cranked the heat up, and the frogs woke up and said, wait, what the heck is going on here?
Yeah.
So
that's true. That's a good point.
It's not as bad as you might think. I don't think it is.
Yeah, I think that the vast majority is still the silent good moral majority, like you're saying. And I think we're hearing a lot of noise out of a smaller section of, and I really am one of the people that believe that the media really is way off in left field and way out of base. And I think we should just get them back to reporting facts and then letting people decide for themselves where to go. Because ultimately, in order for humanity to progress for millions more years, we need to work together. This is kind of like a bad marriage where we're picking out everybody else's faults and differences, and doing that, you're gonna find those things because we're just humans. We're gonna find like, oh, this guy's an asshole because of this and this and this, and it's like, yeah, you're right. But in order to really make this work, we have to see the good in one another and look at the positives, and look at the good, and look at the things we want to do together, and in order to succeed.
About something along those lines today, right? Because I'm on Twitter, and it was mostly just my computer things and folks that I would follow, and I started following some Bitcoin things, and getting connected with the Bitcoin folks has led me to a lot of other really motivating and positive people. As a group, the Bitcoiners are just really awesome folks.
Yeah.
The other really cool thing is that this is something that is used in third world countries.
Right.
It's bringing the stuff to those folks, to the unbanked people, right?
Yes.
There's folks that don't have a bank account,
right?
They don't have a debit card, and this helps. And it's a lot of people. It's a lot more people in that boat than in our little first world.
For sure.
Oh my God, I can't afford an electric car kind of world.
Yes, that's a good point.
There's a lot of good that can come from it. Aside from being a store of value for us privileged people. I think so. I think there is.
I think that's a much better way to cap it than where we were hanging it before. It was now we have an ending. So On that note, I think maybe I'll let you go eat some dinner.